Hey players, welcome to another YouTube live stream. For those of you that are new here, my name is Josh, and every single Monday through Friday, I make videos sharing tips, ideas, and stories teaching you how to be your best self. Now, if you're here on this live stream, you're here to hear my graduation stories, what it was like for me graduating from middle school, high school, and college. So I want to share each of those stories with you guys, kind of explain what my experience was like, what my hesitations and fears were, and kind of what I was expecting of myself and of my life after I graduated from each of those places. Now, I know a lot of you guys are in different grades. Some of you are ready for your own graduation. Some of you are somewhere in the middle, maybe in the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grades, or even in college yourself. And you're kind of prepping up for graduation, getting ready for that big moment. You know, that big moment of graduation could be a scary one to even think about for multiple reasons. You know, it becomes the end of an era every time you have to think about a graduation. I apologize if I have to keep wiping my eye. My allergies are kicking in. But, you know, as you prepare for any kind of graduation, it's a scary thought because there's a sense of closure that comes with it, knowing that school's over, you know, you're kind of done with that grade, you know, you're going to move on to meet new people and experience new things. And not only that, but just kind of jumping into a new chapter in your life is always a scary thing to think about. So, you know, Jeff DeGoose is already ahead of the curve here. You know, I'm in 11th, Benjamin Howard. What I want to know, guys, is what grade are you currently in? Leave it in the chat now so we can get an idea of who's here, who's where we're all in our lives. And then I want to jump into my middle school graduation story. So I want to hear. So Xander, I'm in the 9th going to 10th. Awesome, Xander. Benjamin, I'm in the 8th, almost 9th. Awesome, awesome. Atlanta boy, I'm done with 8th. Cool, cool. So Atlanta boy, I think you're graduating then, right? You're in your middle school graduation. Stay Fashies, 12th grade. Cool. So you're ready to graduate too, man. Let's see, double P, I'm in the 6th. Dylan just finished 7th. Cool. Yeah, so we got people spread out across middle school and high school going into college. So I do want to share each of those stories. 8th grade for Shane, 10th, 11th for Spicy Curry. Cool, cool. Now, some of you guys are already done with school. Some of you kind of leading in. What I thought was really interesting is that when I was thinking about putting together these videos for graduation and end of the school year, for me, school generally always ended in June, right? I'm from New York, so the school system always ended, you know, pretty much towards the end of June. So you had July and August, and then just the first week of September before you had to go back to school. So I do want to talk to you guys about my middle school graduation. For those of you that are in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grades, that's the system in America. I know in different countries it may be different. When I graduated middle school, I was in the 8th grade. So that process was a pretty interesting one for me. So I'll give you guys a kind of rundown of what it was like. So I remember my middle school graduation. It was a sad one. You know, it was kind of an end of an era with me and my friends. I had this one close friend that we just loved wrestling. We always talked about wrestling with each other. You know, like we just had all similar interests in music and wrestling and all these different things. So we were just really, really close guys, you know, really close friends. And I remember the point of graduation, you know, I remember kind of thinking about, okay, our friendship in a different kind of way. I remember thinking, man, like once I go off to high school and he goes off to high school, he was from Staten Island, I was from Brooklyn. So it's a borough away, which is, you know, when you're in middle school, it's a huge distance because you'd have to take a long bus ride or drive over there. And, you know, how was I going to do that? So I kept thinking to myself, man, like as I'm ready to graduate middle school, I'm probably never going to see my friend again, right? My best friend in middle school, we're going to kind of go off in high school and do our own things. And in the back of my mind, I kept telling myself, you know, I think that what I really want to do is I really want to maintain this friendship. I don't want to lose him as a friend, but I'm afraid that I'm just not going to be able to see him because we're just not going to be able to stay in communication with each other. So I remember that day of graduation, I remember telling him, dude, like we got to stay friends. We got to talk to each other. We got to keep in touch. And, you know, to push it all the way to the end, I haven't spoken to him in years. So, and then there's a reason for that. And I'll get to that after I finish this graduation story. But part of the reason why, you know, I really wanted to hold on to that friendship was because he was one of my best friends. And I remember it was really funny. The day of graduation, of middle school graduation, we had to wear long blue gowns. And we're like these really, really like blue, like, let me see if I can find a color. Like this color blue. This is Mrs. Fantastic. Like this color blue, like super, super blue. Super blue gowns, and they looked really ugly and stupid, but you know, we thought they were funny. And underneath, everyone was wearing like dress pants, a dress shirt, a tie, things that your parents kind of forced you to wear for graduation. So graduation, you're supposed to dress formal. My friend came to graduation, right? My friend was maybe like a foot shorter than me. So here I am, here's he. And he came to graduation wearing his like workout pants, like these red workout pants, sneakers, and a regular t-shirt on. And I remember seeing him walk up before he had the gown on, and I'm like, dude, they're gonna chew you up. They're gonna come down on you, the principal or the teachers, whoever it is. Once they see that you're not in any kind of formal gear, they're gonna come down on you. And he's like, I don't care, I'm graduating. What have I got to lose? Well, sure enough, they did. Once they saw him dressed like that, I was standing next to him in my little tie and my little dress shirt. And they came over and they're like, what are you wearing? This is graduation. How can you not take this more seriously? And I remember him just saying like, what do I care? I'm graduating. I just want to get out of here. I'd rather be comfortable today and just get out of here. So I thought that was a pretty funny thing that happened. And of course, we put on the blue robes and everything. And, we went through the motions of graduation. There's a interesting feeling you get when, your name is called up and you walk up on the stage and you kind of receive that little diploma. It's like, and they shake your hand, it's like, it's a good feeling. And you don't really receive the actual diploma. Generally, it's like a rolled up paper or something that they use to symbolize the diploma. In some cases they do, but yeah, right. Like Stay Fast, he's saying, yeah, he just like did not care. He was ready. He was all about it. But so that was then. I remember seeing my parents in the crowd, my family, and they're taking pictures and cheering and stuff. And I just remember I kept thinking to myself, man, like I hope I can keep in contact with all these people that I see. I hope that we can stay friends and that we'll continue to talk to each other. But that didn't end up really being the case. I mean, I remember what's funny is that this was before digital cameras really were a thing. They were coming out, but they weren't really a thing. So my parents still had the like the cameras that you take pictures and then you wind, one of those cameras. So I have a bunch of pictures from middle school from back in the day of myself like that, of like me and like, okay, me standing awkwardly next to this kid while my parents are like, oh, take a picture with them. It's like, oh, it's kind of awkward poses that we made. So it was a funny kind of experience. But like looking back, I remember thinking like, man, I'm probably never going to see a lot of these people again. I'm going to high school and I don't have a cell phone. I don't have anything. I have no way of contacting them. And sure enough, that was the case for me. Now I know for a lot of you guys, it's different now, right? Like the whole setup is different. A lot of you guys do have cell phones. A lot of you guys are following each other on social media. There is a whole interactive component there. So I think you guys have a better opportunity than I ever did to stay in contact with the people that you have known throughout middle school, right? Like these are friends that you can definitely communicate with as you get older, even if you are going to a new school, even if someone's moving away or anything like that. And I remember a big piece too is that there were a lot of girls that I had huge crushes on in middle school. And I just, I was either in the friend zone or too scared to talk to them or whatever it was. And I just knew I had no way of talking to them. But I think things are completely different now for you guys. I think that, like I said, you guys have social media. You have a way to communicate with each other. So I'm curious. I want to know from you guys, everyone kind of leave your answer in the chat here. Leave your own perspective. For those of you that are in middle school, or for those of you that have recently graduated or have, like just experienced middle school and kind of moved on to high school, anyone that's kind of in that zone, do you think that your middle school friends are people that are going to stick around and be your friends for the long term? Or do you feel like, once you guys kind of move on to high school, you probably won't stay in contact anymore? So I'm really curious to know what you guys feel, because I know for me, I had that feeling and I didn't really have a way of communicating. So it was difficult for me. So Benjamin said, I've known my best mate since first grade. We are now like family. That's awesome. And awesome, Benjamin. Yeah, it's really cool to have friends that like just stick with you over the years, that you guys grow together. So, yeah, Benjamin's going to stay in contact. That's really cool. Stay Fast, she said, I stayed in contact with my crush since 8th grade. Awesome. Yeah, I hope I love her. I hope I love her, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing too. It's like I said, things are different now where you can stay in communication with people. And I'm going to get into that now once I move into the high school stories, but I do want to kind of talk about that like this experience of graduating middle school for me. I just remember seeing all those kids and like looking back at old pictures, we were all so young. We were all so hopeful and things were a lot different back then. And I think that going into scary thing for me, because in my mind, I thought of high school as like this place where a lot of these older, cool kids were. And it was so like weird to me. It was like, no, high school kids are like the ones you see on TV shows that are really cool and really hip. And I was always afraid. In middle school, I had gotten used to it. Like when I started sixth grade, I was terrified because it was something I'd never experienced before. But as I got older, as I went to seventh and then into eighth grade, I started to see that difference. By eighth grade, I felt like, yeah, I feel confident in who I am. I feel like, we're the oldest kids here. We got this under control. But I knew going into high school that it was going to be a scary experience for me. It was going to be something that I, was not anticipating, was something that I didn't know how it was gonna work out for me. I was kind of starting at the beginning again, and that was one of my big fears. Let's see. So I'm gonna look through some of the chat here. Really wasn't really close with anyone. Jeff DeGoose says he wasn't really close with anyone. Johanna says, I think that since we have the opportunity to keep in contact, some of us don't use that opportunity and we end up distancing. Yep, totally agree with you there. I think what a lot of people tend to do is they will follow someone online, but they never interact with them. So maybe you like their posts every so often, or you watch their stories and you visually follow them, but you don't actually stay in contact with them. I think that's one of the problems with social media. It's that it allows us to kind of passively be involved in people's lives rather than actively be involved in people's lives. It's like we get the details and we learn the information and we kind of see what's going on, but we never really have any prompt to talk to them, prompt to communicate, prompt to interact with them. And that's some of the things that we're missing out on. Let's see. Double P says, some will be, some won't be. Guess it's the way life goes. Absolutely. There are some people that will stick around and some people that won't. So one of the big things I think a lot of people experience is when you're in middle school, let's say, or you like someone, or you have a really close friend, we always feel like, the feelings we have right now are going to be the ones they're going to stick with us forever. If I like this girl or I like this guy, I'm going to always like them. And once I go into high school, I'm still going to like them. And my mind's always going to be on them. But the reality is that's not how it works. Once you kind of enter a new environment, I even remember for myself going from middle school into high school, it's like once I started high school, I saw so many new girls that I'm like, oh my God, I have crushes on all these girls. And I started to move away and started to forget more about my middle school crushes. That didn't mean thinking about them every so often. It's like, oh man, I remember I liked them. But my mind became more focused on the new environment. And that's something that I wanted to let you guys know is that, once you kind of graduate and once you get to that graduation point, your mind should be focused on what's ahead, not what's behind. There are opportunities and things that maybe you didn't get to do or things you missed out on or things you didn't really do to the best of your ability in middle school. But moving on into high school presents a new opportunity, a new way for you to kind of move forward, to kind of grow as a person and to kind of change things about yourself, right? Like ninth grade you is going to be way different from eighth grade you. And, it's all a matter of adapting to those new environments. And I remember after my graduation of eighth grade, I remember telling myself like, man, I'm starting at the bottom of the barrel here as a ninth grader. I'm going to be a small fish in this big pond with all these cool and awesome high schoolers. And this was one of the big changes for me too. When I was in middle school, I used to take the bus to school, like the actual school bus. And then going into high school, I had to learn to take public transportation, which was terrifying for me. This idea of getting on a regular public bus and then transferring to a bus and then walking and stuff was so weird because it's like, oh man, I don't know how to like travel on my own like that and to do those different things. So it was just kind of a new experience for me that I wasn't prepared for. I felt like high school was my first jump into adulthood. How many of you guys feel that way? For those of you that are in high school, did you feel a huge difference from going from middle school to high school? Because for me, I felt a huge difference. I felt like I had to change the way that I did things or the way that I interacted and the way that I traveled. I had to learn more things. And it wasn't as simple as just get on a school bus in the morning, school bus drops you off in front of your house type of thing. Let's see. Let's read through some of these. Let's see. Just looking through some of your guys' comments. We're talking about white and black here. I'm so confused. All right. So Jeff the Goose says all the blacks hung out with each other. All the browns hung out with each other except me. And everyone was happy while I just practiced science. Yeah. I mean, in different schools too, people tend to hang out with groups that they identify the best with. So for some people that may be some kind of, let's say, racial or cultural identification. For some people, it might be identification over a hobby or interest. Like I remember, well, I'm going to get into high school, but I remember in high school, there were a lot of kids that liked anime and they were of all different backgrounds, but anime is what brought them together. So they all hung out together. Then I knew other kids that, let's say, were in drama and music and plays, and they were from all different backgrounds as well, and they hung out together. But then there was also groups of, let's say, Hispanic kids that hung out together, or Asian kids that hung out together, or groups of girls that were, let's say, involved in the, like the politics and all the things that were going on in school, the student ambassadors and stuff, and they hung out together. So I think we kind of pull ourselves into different groups that we best feel connected with. For some people, that's racial groups. For some people, that's groups of interest. For some people, that's, it could be groups of anything. I always flocked to kids that enjoyed wrestling and loved talking about wrestling. So, and that was another thing too. It's that I had my wrestling friends in middle school, and I wasn't sure I was going to find people to connect with in high school over that same hobby. So I do want to jump into the high school story here. Now, the truth is, when I jumped into high school, come to think about it, none of my actual friends were into wrestling in high school. So that was just something I never talked to them about. My only wrestling friends were people that I knew outside of school. So in high school, it was a bit of an adjustment period, going into the ninth grade. And, if you check, I'll link it up over here. I have a playlist of all the different kinds of like life stories and experiences I had, like my first kiss in high school, my first girlfriend, first crush. I've shared a lot of my high school stories definitely in that playlist. So it's something you guys you should definitely check out. But as the years progressed in high school and I started to get closer to figuring out what I wanted to do, what college I wanted to go to, I remember that was around my junior year. And I was already thinking like, man, like after junior year, I got senior year, and then I'm done with high school. And that's going to be crazy for me. So I want to know, for all the people right now that are in high school, I want you to leave a smiley face emoji if you're in high school. I want to see what our breakdown is. I know I asked the grade earlier, but I want to get an idea of who's in actively right now. Who's in high school? Leave a smiley face emoji. I want to see some faces in the chat there. But, and I remember thinking to myself, like, oh, this is really scary because I'm going to have to pick a college to go to. And, when I went to my high school, it was the same high school as my older brother. And I remember thinking, okay, going to college, I don't know what college I want to go to. Like the difference between high school and college there was simply the fact that high school was kind of still chosen for me, the classes I had to take and what I had to focus on, what I had to do. It wasn't really of my choosing. High school was still kind of curated for me, right? Like, okay, I have to take a social studies and I have to take a math, I have to take a science, I have to do these things. And there's still an ease in that kind of lifestyle. Same with middle school, same with high school, of people kind of setting up the things that you have to do, And when I was in high school, like I said, when I was in middle school going into high school, I was so afraid of not being able to find a group for myself that I can hang out with and people I can talk to, and just not really feeling like I fit. And of course, as time went on in high school, I made my own friends and we would hang out together. And, what was really, really awesome about high school is that I feel like people were starting to come into who they were, like looking back at like the Josh of now versus the Josh of then were really two different people. But back then, I think the seeds were being planted, the seeds of the things I wanted to do in life, how I wanted to help people, how I wanted to talk about people. Do any of you guys feel that way? Do you feel like high school is kind of fostering an environment where you're kind of growing into who you are and really into the things that you want to do? I know a lot of you guys have talked to me and shot me messages about that. And that's something that I'm experiencing, I was experiencing in high school. It really was a coming of age for me. It was really a matter of like, okay, this is the type of music I'm really getting into, and these are the type of hobbies I really enjoy. I felt like high school was where that started to shine. And a big part of it too was definitely getting into real relationships, which is not something I had in middle school, right? In middle school, it's like, I didn't have any relationships. I didn't have a girlfriend. I had crushes, but I was always too nervous to talk to them, and I got rejected a bunch of times. But it wasn't until high school that I felt a little bit more confident in my ability to talk to girls, to ask a girl out, to have a girlfriend, and all these different things. Yeah, Kyle says high school are very important years. Alexis says not really, to be honest. That's fair. That's fair. Thomas Turner says now he's Mr. Speaks. Jeff DeGoose says, of my school, let me do 4 sciences, math, English, gym, and photography. That's a lot of classes, man. A lot of classes. So just scrolling through here. What about middle school people? King Neo asks. If you're middle school, leave a sad face emoji. Yep. If you're middle school, leave a sad face emoji, guys. Leave a sad face emoji. Neo, I see you. But yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to single out high school over middle school, but just because I'm moving more into the high school story here, that, really that experience was for me, it was high school was my coming of age. And that was really where I started to really shine. So for those of you that are in middle school that feel like you don't have it all figured out, it's okay. You have more than enough time to make mistakes, to learn from them, and to grow. That was something that it took me a while to really learn too. All throughout middle school and then into high school, I was stumbling. I was messing up. I didn't know how to ask a girl out. I didn't know how to just be more confident in who I was. But high school was prepping me for that. Not to mention it's like in high school, that's when I really, really started to notice girls that I liked. And I really, really started to feel like, wow, like this girl's really beautiful and I really want to talk to her. And, like she's really hot and all these different things were popping into my mind. One fun thing I do want to share with you guys one day is I am going to walk you through. I have my high school transcript and I do want to show you guys my high school transcript to show you all the classes I had and all the grades I got. Cause I think that'd be really funny to walk you through. Maybe I'll save that for another live stream in the future, but so like I said, as I navigated through all my different high school years, what's your grades in those subjects? How much more credit is left to earn? Oh, you guys are talking about subjects here. As I kind of navigated through all those different years in school, one of the things that I started to realize was, okay, I'm going to have to pick a college. And at the time, I had no clue what college I wanted to go to. This is, I think, a problem with the high school system. It's that it doesn't really prep you for thinking like a college student, right? Like unless you're taking, let's say, college now classes or things like that are leading you into that college mindset, it really kind of keeps you self-contained. And then you kind of jump into the college world, which is a whole different world itself. I'm going to get to that in a bit. But, in high school, like I said, it's like I knew exactly the classes I had to take and I knew I had to do this. I had to take all the standardized tests and all the regents and all those different things. So, it's like my path was set for me and I just had to kind of follow it. That was really the whole situation there. But, as I led towards my graduation, I remember talking to my friends and I remember thinking like, okay, here we are, we want to do something big. We want to do something big. We want to do something fun for graduation. Now, I've talked about my prom stories from high school with you guys and how all of us stayed together. And one of the pieces that I remember from that prom night was at the end of the night, I had went to, just to fill you guys in, I went to prom with my friends, right? And I had no date, right? The girl that I really wanted to ask was going with another group and I was just too nervous to ask her out. I had been friend zoned by her. It's a long story. I'm going to link it up here. I'll link up the video talking about that story there, how I got friend zoned by her. But basically, I went with my friends to prom and it was a mix of guys and girls. And I remember at the end of the night, we rented a hotel room. Everyone stayed in the hotel and me and one of my guy friends and then one of the dates of one of the girls just went for a walk. We went for a walk at like 3 a.m. and we're just walking around the city. And I remember talking to my friend and thinking like, man, we've had so many experiences here, ups and downs and liking the same girl and running into issues with that and all these different things that, what's going to happen once we move into college? Are our lives really going to change? Or, those same feelings that I had in middle school were popping back up now in high school. I kept thinking like, are these people the people that are going to stick around in my life, that I'm always going to be friends with, that I'm always going to communicate with? High school was an experience where I really, really kind of came into who I was. And I felt like, yeah, these are my friends. Like, this is my tribe. We connect. We're here for each other. This is what it is. Spoiler alert, guys. I don't really talk to any of my high school friends anymore, but I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to that. Trust me, I'm going to get to that. Now I'm saying all of this not to like discourage you guys or make you feel like, oh man, like the people I'm friends with, I'm probably never going to talk to, because I know a lot of you guys have different experiences. Like Benjamin said, his best friend is someone that he has known since the first grade. So, that's a friendship that's going to stick around. Everyone's story is different. So I'm just sharing my story to show you guys kind of what I learned over the years and how I kind of experienced it. Let me jump in here, see what you guys are saying in some of the comments here. Josh, I'm going to have to go now. All right, Benjamin, thank you for coming in again, man. I always appreciate it. High school isn't really understanding for most other people here. It's cheating, sadly. Interesting. Big Bobby says, I just have to ask, what is middle school and kindergarten over here? We have nursery and primary school, then high school, college, and then you're off to work. Okay, so let me break down the school breakdown here, at least for me in New York City, maybe in other states it's different in the United States. So in New York City, kindergarten is, you start kindergarten when you're 5 years old, right? I started when I was 4 years old because my birthday's in November, so they put me in with the same class of people. But generally, you start when you're 5 years old, kindergarten, right? Then you move to first grade at 6, all the way to, let's say, kindergarten 5, first grade 6, second grade 7, third grade 8. This is harder than I thought. Third grade 8, fourth grade 9, fifth grade 10. Right? I think that's about right. So in fifth grade, you're about 10 or 11 years old. Then you go into sixth grade, which is middle school. Sixth, seventh, and eighth grade are middle school. You're 11, 12, 13, right? When you graduate middle school, you're 13 years old. It's the eighth grade. You're moving into high school. You're becoming an adult. High school is 14, 15, 16, 17, I think, right? 17, 18. So when you're about 18 years old or 17, 18 years old, that's when you're graduating high school and moving into college. And it's crazy because when I think of college too, I don't think of 18-year-olds, but that's basically what it is. Yeah. So people are writing down. I'm curious to know what for you guys. For me, it was K through 5 was elementary school. 6th through 8th was middle school. 9th through 12th was high school. Do any of you guys have a different kind of breakdown? I'd love to know what your guys' breakdown is. So let's see. You're supposed to be double P. There's too many bullies acting hard in my school. Hey Josh, what do you have to say to people who want to skip prom? Ryan, that's a good question. If you don't want to go to prom, you don't have to. I think that you can still enjoy the experience of school and hanging out with friends without having to engage in prom. It's like, maybe instead of going to prom, if you have any friends that are not going to prom, just organize a hangout and hang out on that same day. That way you can still feel like you guys had a finale moment for yourself, and you don't have to worry about spending it with other people you don't really care about. So that's what I would suggest. But so as I'm getting closer to read my comments. I'm reading your comments. So, all right. So as I'm getting closer to my high school graduation, I do want to share this with you guys too. So like I said, my prom night, I was talking to my friend and I kept thinking like, man, like, are we going to stay in touch? Are we going to stay friends? Both of us were hopeful. All of my friends were hopeful. We all told ourselves like, yeah, we're going to stay in touch. We're going to keep communicating with each other. We're going to hang out. And for myself, that just wasn't the case. I know a lot of them did. A lot of them did stay together, but, I just wasn't really part of that group, or, they kind of had their own thing. I had my own thing going forward. But I do remember my high school graduation. For this, we had to wear green robes. Let me see if I can find a color here that represents. I think this is the best representation color. Let's see. All right, here we go. This is my vulture statue. This is probably the best representation color. It was a green like this that we had to wear for my high school graduation. Vulture. It was a green like that we had to wear. And, once again, all these robes were ugly, right? I don't think I've ever seen a graduation robe that wasn't ugly. King Neo guessed it. He said dark green. You're right. And I remember showing up there and, like looking at pictures of myself from my high school graduation, I didn't realize that I was kind of like this, like my face was all pimply. I just like was covered in sweat. I just did not look my best. I didn't look my best, and that's okay because, like graduating high school, not everyone looks their best. It takes time to grow into who you are. But so, I remember showing up and I remember seeing all the kids in my school, and we were all dressed up in our gowns, and it wasn't at our school, it was at some place or whatever. Josh, when is prom? Prom is different for everyone. Prom for me, I think, was always in May, from what I remember. But I remember seeing all these kids in my school, and I had that same feeling like, yes, this is it. This is the finale. So, oh man, I forgot to tell you guys one funny story about middle school graduation. So I'll tell you guys as I'm telling this story. So I had this one teacher in middle school that it's one teacher that everyone loved. He was a funny guy and everything. And all of us thought it'd be super funny if when they called him up to give his speech, we just continued to clap and cheer for him. And we did that for like 5 minutes straight. So of course, that's exactly what we did. And he got up to the stage and we all just started clapping and cheering. And then he kept going on the mic. He's like, okay, everyone. Okay, settle down. Okay, I want to talk now. Okay, settle down, guys. Okay. And we just kept clapping and cheering until eventually later we found out that he was really, really pissed off about that. He's like, you guys didn't let me speak. My time was up and they had to kick him off the stage. So we kind of ruined it for him. But okay, that's a middle school story. So back to high school. So I see all these kids that are in my grade and we're all getting ready to graduate. And it's a monumental moment. It's like, once again, a milestone. It's moving forward. It's really kind of looking at life and saying like, yeah, like I'm getting ready to go into the next stage. I'm getting ready to go into college. Now, I don't know how many of you guys have seen it. I would definitely recommend checking out my video from yesterday. I'm going to link it up over here. I'm going to link it up for you guys. And it's my kind of little inspirational speech towards, the class of 2018. So for any of you that are graduating, definitely check that video out. I think it was definitely a fun one to put together. And I show my high school in the background. So I would definitely check those out. But so I see everyone there, and there's this, this kind of opening feeling for myself where it's like, okay, I see it's like everyone's getting ready to graduate. This is a monumental moment. And I remember my friends had a plan. They had all written. Now, some of you guys might be able to, some of you might not be able to decorate your hats. And my friends decided to decorate their hats. Their initials were TLC, so they wrote TLC on their hats. I forgot what I did on my hat. I really wish I remember what I did, but I remember putting something on it. And everyone's supposed to throw up their hats in the end, and everyone's supposed to throw up their hats in the end. It's supposed to be a big thing, and that's always a fun thing I think about graduation. Anthony says, I have 11 days left of classes until finals. I'm hyped for summer. That's awesome, Anthony. 11 days, man. Start counting them down. The Atlanta boy, I apologize, man. If you want to talk about hockey, maybe go join a hockey live stream. Let's see. Jeff the Goose says, hey, guys, do you have any teachers you love? I do. I love these guys, Mr. Thomas and Torres, and they are sick, but a lot of my friends and others just talk trash behind their backs and say violent things. I'm sorry to hear that, man. All right, Double P, I'll catch you later. But yeah, I mean, speaking of teachers too, there were a lot of teachers. If you haven't already, I would definitely recommend checking out my book, Embracing the Awkward. The link is going to be down there. The link is down there in the description below, and you can check it out. In it, I talk about my experience I had in high school with one teacher in particular. I felt like this teacher really kind of helped shape my course in life. He kind of got me to start thinking about kind of the duality of life, how there's good and bad, and how the good and bad kind of coexist with each other, and how we kind of function in this world where we should never look at something at face value and say that's what it is, that's what this person is, that person's yelling, that person's angry, that person's a jerk. We should never approach things like that. We should always investigate, always be willing to learn. And that was a teacher that really helped inspire me. I thought I had a lot of fun teachers in high school. I had teachers that were just like pure comedians. They would crack jokes all the time. I had one teacher that was just totally just outlandish. And he would say things that everyone would just be like, oh my God, what is this guy saying? It was a lot of fun. It was high school was a lot of fun. Let's see. Anthony says, I'm in 10th grade, and I have to say it's definitely way more harder than 9th grade. It's more responsibilities, but I am learning as I go my way. Yeah, definitely, Anthony. As you kind of move forward, you move up from 9th grade to 10th grade. Like I said, when you start in 9th grade, I'm sure you had that feeling of feeling like a small fish in a big pond. But as you kind of move up in, let's say, rank, you're really going to start to feel more in your element, which is what I did. I remember on my high school graduation, I felt in my element. And just like I was saying before, when I started high school, I didn't feel that at all. I felt like, man, I'm a newbie here and I don't know anyone. But by the end of high school, I had my group of friends. I had already been in relationships. I felt somewhat accomplished for myself, for the things I wanted to do. Now, there's some of you that haven't been in relationships yet, or maybe don't have close of friends, and that's okay. As time goes on, things change, people change. But I remember my high school graduation too, like, my friends all wanted, the 3 friends that wrote TLC on their hats, they all wanted to throw it up, but they didn't want to lose their hats because they had the TLC on it. So I remember they kind of, they were all sitting in different areas. So they all looked at each other and they kind of just did like this little fake throw. And I remember sitting behind one of them. They did these fake throw and caught it. So that was a fun experience there. Let's see, Ryan On says, this year has been really stressful for me. All things I've been doing, cadets, SAC, and normal school academics. Sorry to hear that, man. It sounds like you got a lot on your plate. You're a very determined kid, I gotta say. If you're working through all those different things, it's gotta be tough. But that's the thing too. It's like thinking back, like I remember 10th and 11th grades were really, really hard. And they were hard because mm, they were hard because like the workload intensifies. And like I said, you're starting to come into your element. So you feel like you have a lot more you have to worry about, a lot more like relationships and drama and all these different things going on. Um, so it's a good question. King Neil wants to know, do you get to keep the hats? So for every graduation, you have to buy the robe, and it's a whole package. It comes with a little hat, those little square hat things that you have to wear with the robe. It's got the little tassel on it, and they're all ugly, and you're only going to use them once, and then you're probably going to throw them out. But they make you buy it anyway. So yeah, you do get to keep the hat. But what ends up happening is now the hats are certain sizes. So my hat would be like, let's say a medium or something. I don't know, whatever it was. But everyone at the end of the graduation, they say, oh, you graduating class of so on and so forth. Everyone throws their hats in the air. And I remember telling myself, like, I don't want to lose my hat. I don't want to throw my medium hat and get like an extra large hat. So I remember like doing the same thing. I casually like small toss, hey, caught it myself. But everyone just like chuck theirs in the air. Hats are flying, poking people in the eyes. It was a whole crazy thing. But it was a good feeling. It was a good feeling to be able to graduate, to be there in that experience with everyone. If any of you guys have any questions, I see people asking questions about what graduation was like specifically for me, someone in New York, someone in America, whatever it is, ask your questions. I'll share maybe there's cultural differences too, which I think is really cool. In Wales, half the signs are in foreign language. Reigns more, I guess it's the same. Let's see. Jeff DeGoose says, do you have advice to keep groups together? I used to be in the J Club full of people with J in their name who were cool, but it fell apart after a year. So that could be tough. I think when it comes to keeping groups together, maybe the best thing to do is you guys have to focus on a specific activity that you do maybe once a month. And that's how you guys can keep together. And a big piece of it too is always try to have new people being involved or joining it if you can. So it's like, I think what'll happen is, let's say you guys decide the J Club all goes bowling or something every once a month, every 3 weeks, whatever it is, 2 weeks. Try to bring in someone new that has a J every so often to kind of keep it fresh, because sometimes when you're with the same people doing the same things over and over, you kind of get bored. But always having someone new there changes the dynamic. And another thing too is that, like, as you get older, like the things that that really pull you together, let's say in 9th grade, might not be the things that pull you together by 12th grade. By 12th grade, you might grow out of it. You might feel like, this is boring. This is not as fun anymore. And it's okay to kind of go through those curves and bends as you kind of get older. So Kyle says, I only have one regret about high school, which is not talking to that cute girl. Plenty of fish in the sea, though. Absolutely, Kyle. Like I shared in my life stories videos, like that playlist, there were tons of cute girls in my high school that I wanted to talk to, that I wanted to ask out, but I was just too nervous to do it. I just couldn't push myself to do it for some reason. So, like looking back on it, it's like I remember at the end of high school, like beating myself up and saying like, this sucks, like, why didn't I just try to make something happen? But like I said, once I got to college, once I was in that college environment, once again, the switch happened. So now I want to move into college and tell you guys, because I think my college graduation story is perhaps the funniest of them all. The Atlanta boy. I don't understand what's going on, man. You just seem like you're having a bad day. Let's see. Reese says, I have no regrets about my high school experience. I feel I'm way ahead of all the people in my school. I wasn't a douche like 99% of my classmates. Yeah, totally, Reese. Everyone has different journeys through high school or, whatever it may be. And, listen, everyone gets through in their own way. And some people get through and they're happy and they enjoy it. Some people just hate it and they're like, I just want to be done with the school. I'm done with these people. We all have different experiences. I think graduation is that, the final, like, or just like leaving the school, moving away from it, going on to new things, is that nail in the coffin of like, hey, let's move forward. Yeah, Thomas, he wants to talk about hockey. I don't know why. But hey, if you want to talk about hockey, go for it, Atlanta boy. Oxytocin just stacks whenever I think of her. I hear you, Jeff. I hear you, man. Like, I had so many experiences like that. Like the one crush that totally friend zoned me, everything, man. Reese says, my only regret in that period of my life was my long distance ex. I hear you, man. Anthony says, my experience is kind of mixed. I hear you. Yeah, Anthony. Like, we don't have to label these experiences of high school or middle school or anything as good or bad. I mean, there are good and bad elements to it all. We can't say this was a good one, this was a bad one. It's different for everyone. But so once I graduated high school and I had decided what college I was going to, for those of you guys that don't know, I went to the same college as my brother, and I went to computer engineering because you're engineering. So when I started at college, I remember thinking like, man, I thought the transition from middle school to high school was weird. This transition from high school to college is incredibly weird. Now, here's what I noticed was the difference. When I went from middle school to high school, I had to get used to riding on the public bus, taking public trains, traveling on my own. I had to get used to that. When I was in college, I had to get used to the idea of managing my own time and my own schedule to do things. I lived in a dorm room and I slept in a dorm room, and I had to wake up on my own, go to class, do my homework, hand in papers. If I had a problem in the school, I had to go to the offices myself. I had to organize the teachers. There was no like, my parents weren't there to help me with everything. It's like I had to kind of do it on my own. You were kind of put into this world where, okay, you're in this college campus, you're in your own adult world, make it happen. So that was a huge difference for me. I remember, and I did a video on my college orientation experience. So you can check it over here. I'll link up for you guys. And I remember thinking about my college, like when I first started, that first day, and I've shared this story with you guys before. My very first day of college, my very first class, my alarm clock didn't go off, and it ended up, which is kind of ironic actually when I think about it. It's very ironic, and I'm gonna explain why, guys. College is university. So here in America, we call it college. I know some people call it uni, some people call it university. Different people have different names for it depending on where you are, whether you're in the UK or Canada or US or anything like that. So college here in America is university, one and the same. Now, colleges don't necessarily have to be universities. There could also be community colleges, right, which are colleges in the local area that people who live in the local area can go to either for a reduced rate or for free or for any of these type of things. Universities are generally bigger schools, right? So I went to Stony Brook University, which had its own campus, dorms, cafeteria, buildings for like music and all these different things. It was like a little town essentially on its own. That's generally what universities are. Colleges tend to be just smaller, a building or a few buildings where people kind of go to learn. So Shadow King says, in middle school to college, I was going to use a bike until I got a car. Yeah, I mean, that's a good strategy, for me, because my college was about 2 hours away from where I lived. I lived on campus. It was just easier that way. Ace Calico Entertainment says, I'm 9th, about to be 10th. Awesome, man. Are you excited? Are you excited about this transition? Thomas asks, do you have to go to college? That's a really good question, Thomas. I personally don't believe everyone has to go to college. Here's what I would determine it. I would say it's beneficial for you to go to college because you get that social experience of learning and interacting with people. I think the experience of working towards a degree or something that you really want to pursue with people that are like-minded, taking the same classes as you, is a super benefit. Because what's different from college and high school is that in high school, people are taking the classes because they have to take it. Whereas in college, if I'm taking, let's say, a math course, I'm taking that math course because there are other people in that class that maybe want to pursue a career or get a degree that needs that math class. So everyone there, like I remember taking computer science, and everyone there was a computer science major. So we all had a like mind and a like interests in there. So, that's what I would suggest. I think it's good for the social experience. As far as the actual learning piece, I mean, a lot of that learning you can do online. There's so many online courses and free things, like Crash Course on YouTube is one place. Like there's just these awesome places to learn things that don't cost a dime. So not everyone has to go to college. You can learn the education piece on your own. I think really it's the social environment, that social development that really is the benefit of college. Let's see. Jeff says, Elon Musk dropped out of college. Look at him now. Absolutely. Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, all these different people. I forgot his name for a second. All these different people dropped out of college. Mark Zuckerberg, and like I said, college provides more of the social setting for you to learn, which is what I think is a good one. Stay Fashy says, I'm not going to college. I'm joining the infantry and doing other things that don't require college. Absolutely. There's so many jobs out there that don't require college. It really requires persistence and requires skill. So guys, tomorrow, for those of you that are in high school going into college, or those of you that are already in college, my video tomorrow is going to be 5 things every college graduate should know. I think, or needs to know. I don't remember what I titled it, but it's really going to focus on that, like what you should really know once you graduate college. So I'm going to kind of touch on it a little bit in this stream too. Um, let's see. Kyle says, Josh, is it okay that I'm not going to college right away? I see all these kids in my school going to big name colleges in my state, and I've kind of panicked a little bit that I'm not going to one at the moment. That's a really good question, Kyle. I think that if you don't feel ready to jump into college as soon as you graduate high school, that's okay. A lot of people are going to put pressure on you or make you feel bad or tell you, no, you have to. That's going to happen, but trust me on this. It's like, if you don't feel ready, if you need some time to decompress, that's okay. I know lots of people that took a year off, took a few months off, enrolled in the fall semester, enrolled in the spring semester. That's an important thing too. It's that if you don't feel ready yet, then maybe take the fall semester off and then start in the spring. You know what you need best. And if you need a little time to decompress from high school, then that's totally fine. Don't allow people to pressure you into doing something because, look, when I started college, I didn't start on a footing that I enjoyed, and I ended up failing. I failed my first 2 classes and almost got kicked out of the school because I wasn't doing something I loved. Had I taken time maybe to think it over before I joined college, maybe it would have worked out better. But type that emoji if you're in college. So yeah, let's get this going. If you are in college right now, type that face emoji. I want to know how many of you guys are in college, what's going on, everything like that. But I do want to tell you about my college graduation story because it's funny. So working through college, and definitely if you guys have any college questions or high school or graduation, just drop it in the chat here because I feel like that's really, like, I want to help you guys. I want to get you guys prepared. I want you to feel comfortable. So ask your questions, ask anything you want as long as it's not a hockey question, because I know it's going to make the Atlanta boy really upset if it's not a hockey question. So ask all the non-hockey questions, guys. But anyway, so as I was kind of going through college, same thing too. In the very beginning, I felt nervous and out of place, and it was a weird environment for me. And I didn't really know, I wasn't used to this setting of like, what do you mean? I just have to wake up and I can hang on my dorm and go to class when I know I have to go to class. I had so much more freedom and flexibility. And as college went on, I remember thinking the same thing. I had my college friends and we would all talk and we would all hang out. And, we all really just enjoyed each other's company. And it was cool because it's like I said, we were in college and we made our own rules to an extent. Not a hockey. What do you have against us Canadians? I have nothing against Canadians, Ryan. Nothing against hockey fans. I was just making a joke. I like if you missed every single one of my comments. All right, Liberty Gaming. I'll jump in. Chat number 1. If you see this, let me jump back up and see this. Okay, so I'm going to segue here. So Liberty Gaming says, Josh, I like this girl. My sister is friends with her, and she's been showing some signs like she smiles at me when I walk by, even when I don't look at her. She seems a little nervous when I talk to her. She laughs at all my jokes, make eye contact with me. Okay, so I think in a case like that, if she smiles and makes jokes, it sounds like you're getting signs from her. And I think the simple answer there is if you're getting signs from her, then talk to her, right? Like, what do you feel is holding you back from just asking her to hang out one day? I think that would be the best solution. To keep it simple, that's what I would suggest. Anthony ate a crybaby bubblegum. It's really sour. Okay. So anyway, as I was getting used to this idea of making my own schedule and doing my own thing in college, like if I wanted to hang out in my friend's dorm room till like midnight or 1 or 2 or 3, whatever, I could. And then I just had to be responsible enough to go to class the next day on my own. So I had a lot more control and freedom my own control to do whatever I wanted to, which was really cool. Really interesting about college, really new. And I remember as I was working towards graduation in college that as I worked towards graduation, I remember thinking to myself, like, man, I don't talk to my middle school friends anymore. I stopped talking to my high school friends, no one I really communicate with. And now is the same thing going to happen to my college friends? Or am I just going to kind of move on with my life? And it made me start really thinking like, the bonds that you have with people, and this is something that's interesting to me, the bonds that you have with people could just be for that time period and could be for that experience. So it's like my middle school friend who was crazy and wore the, whatever he wanted to wear, like he just decided to do whatever he wanted to. We shared that moment together and then we moved on with our lives. And always looking back, I always felt like, man, that sucks. I don't talk to my friend again. But it's okay for people to be part of a piece of your life and to help you through it and then for you to move on. So that's what I would suggest thinking about here, that like, if there are people in your life now that you're friends with and you feel like you might not be friends going forward, just appreciate the time that you have with them here and now, because that's what really matters. The fact that you guys can enjoy that experience, the fact that you can go through high school and deal with all the pain together, the fact that you can jump into college and really just kind of be happy with these people and the people that you're spending time with, that's what really matters. And I remember in college, I came to that realization. My college roommate, we were like the odd couple. This kid like would have garbage thrown all over the floor. And at one time, this is the best part ever. There was so much garbage and like pizza boxes and things on the floor that I told him, I'm like, dude, you have to clean up your room. Like you're half of the room. It's really messy. And he's like, I have an idea. He took the comforter off of his bed and he put it on top of the garbage. And he said, all right, this is the new floor. We're going to walk on this from now on. Literally, that became the new floor. We walked on top of the garbage, on top of the comforter. It was a mess. But me and him grew really close. We watched a lot of TV shows together. We spent a lot of time together. He was a really close friend of mine. Now, he was from Wisconsin. So he was here in my school. And I knew once I graduated, he was going to go back to Wisconsin. I'd probably never see him again. But, the story goes on there. So as we got to college, my college graduation, at the time, this is when I was going out with my second girlfriend. And if I haven't already used up all the cards here, I'm going to link it up here. The story of me and my second girlfriend and why it was a horror show. But basically, I remember the day came for my college graduation and I was excited. Now, I want you guys to guess. Can any of you guys guess what color my college graduation robe was? I want to hear it in the comments here. I want you guys to leave what color you think it was that I had to wear. I already had to wear a blue one. I had to wear a green one. What do you think the third color was of the robe that I had to wear for college? I want to see what you guys have to say. I'm going to grab something. What do I have that looks that color? Let me look. Hold on. Give me 1 second to look, see what I have. Okay. All right. Let's see what colors you guys have guessed. Kid X says yellow. Johanna says red. Anthony white. Atlanta boy Atlanta. Okay. Burgundy red. Turquoise. Magenta purple. Trick question. It's green. Thrasher blue. Okay. So this is the color I had to wear. It was this red color. Now this is the best thing I could find. This is Claw, the Marvel figure. It was like this red, like totally like ugly red looking color. So who guessed it right? I think Johanna guessed it right. Cool. Yep, Johanna got it right. And we had to wear those red robes. And I remember, and this is why I said it was ironic, because my very first class that I had in college, I ended up oversleeping, right? And my alarm, I just kind of slept through my alarm and I rushed to class and I was late. On the day of my graduation, my college graduation, I woke up late, right? I remember I was supposed to meet up with my girlfriend. Like, here's the thing. So what was interesting about college was that there was the main college celebration, which was all the students in the college for that grade. And then there was the individual major graduations. So because I was in the business kind of major, there was also a business school graduation, just like there was a computer science graduation, an engineering graduation, a sports graduation, all these different things. So I was part of the business graduation. Now that business graduation was supposed to be at 9 a.m. Now I was back at home, all the way back in Brooklyn. Now my school's out in Long Island, which is about a 2-hour ride. I woke up, I remember at, I think it was like 7 or 7:30 or something. I think 7:30. I remember waking up at 7:30 and thinking, holy crap, we have to get dressed, get ready, and then drive over to the school for this graduation. And I remember messaging my girlfriend and she was like, I've been up and waiting. I don't know what to do. And we drove over to her. We picked her up. And then we drove literally at the speed of light, not literally, figuratively at the speed of light to get to this graduation. We were just like swerving in between cars and stuff. And I remember like sitting there in my robe going, oh my God, I'm going to miss the graduation. I can't do this, And it was a whole crazy experience. We're driving through everything. This is a crazy, crazy thing. But we get to the graduation and we park the car. We run in the building. And I remember running in the building and seeing all the people lining up to get their diploma things, right? Now, everyone's lined up. So I had already missed the whole graduation piece, everyone talking, the ceremony. I missed all of that. I saw everyone on the line and I literally ran to the back of the line. There was maybe like 4 or 5 people left on the line. I ran to the back of the line. I literally ran in the door, ran on the line, walked on stage, got my paper, walked back down, and that's it. And then sat down. And I remember thinking, man, I just caught the graduation piece in the nick of time. I got my paper, shook the hand. It was crazy. So that was it. Like, that was my business graduation. And I remember thinking to myself, man, how ironic is it that I slept through my first class, and now I slept through my first class, and now it's like I almost missed my college graduation. It was totally off the wall. I remember, like, literally it was like a 10-second process. I got my paper and they're like, congratulations. Oh, and then it was over. And I went back to my parents and they're like, oh, that was it? I'm like, yeah, guys, we got here like 10 minutes to spare. But so that was the first piece. Now, the computer science one, which is when my brother was graduating, was at like 3 p.m. So we just had to kind of stick around on campus for the rest of the day. I remember taking pictures with my friends and stuff, and thinking to myself again, like, are these people I'm going to see once I graduate? Am I going to stay in touch with my college friends? Like, the fact that I was ending school and I was moving forward to what I want to say is adult life, like, there's no more school here. I'm done with college. We get my degree. I'm going to move forward and get a job and start that part of my life. It was a crazy experience for me. It was like, is this real? Is this something that's going to happen? And what's cool is this. It's that even now to this day, I graduated in 2009, right? Which is almost 10 years ago. Even to this day, my college friends are the only ones that I still keep in touch with. Because every so often, every month or 2 months or whatever it is, we reach out, we all get together, we hang out as a group, whoever we can pull together, we meet each other. And it's like, I've gone to a bunch of their weddings, they've come to my wedding. We've kept in touch over the years. Even my friend in Wisconsin, my college roommate who created the new floor with his, covered his garbage with his blanket, created the new floor. I went to his wedding when it was in Wisconsin. He came, he didn't come to mine, he came to my brother's, but like, I've kept in touch with my college friends, which is really, really cool. And it makes me happy to know that, like, we all are making that effort to keep in contact with each other. My high school friends, I can see that they've gone on and done their own thing. They've stayed in their own group here and there, but I don't really interact with them. My middle school friends, just totally disconnected. So I think the big takeaway, the thing that I've really learned here is that, like, as you progress through life, some of your friends will drop off, and that's okay. Like, we beat ourselves over the chest and we get angry about it and we tell ourselves, man, this sucks. I don't want to lose my friends, but it's a natural process. People come and go, people grow as they get older. And I think as you enter any new stage in your life, there's always going to be fear and hesitation and uncertainty. But once you dive in, once you try it out, and once you kind of get into the habit of things, you'll start to get used to it, and you'll start to get to the point once again where you feel like, I got it all under control. I got this all figured out. And the thing is, life does throw you curveballs, right? Things will happen that you can't anticipate, that you can't prepare for, that you can't even guess is going to happen. And I think the most important piece of it all is to kind of be open to kind of the new experiences that life brings you, right? So as you move forward through middle school, into high school, into college, and then beyond college, as you make that transition through life, you really have to be grateful for the people that you have and the things that you have in that moment. Right? So if there are crushes that you want to ask out, that you're beating yourself up over, saying, why did I waste my opportunity? School's coming to an end. I haven't done anything yet. It's okay. As you move forward, you'll develop new crushes. You'll meet new people. You'll grow as a person, and things will start to change. So don't feel like you're beholden to what you have now. Life is always bringing you something new. So that's basically the 3 stories that I wanted to share with you guys. I'm going to jump in and answer any few comments. I do want to say, if you haven't already, hit the thumbs up button. We're at 32 likes. Let's get this to 40 if we can. And I do want to say, guys, to anyone that still wants to hang out, still wants to chat, you guys can always jump on and reach out to me here. What I'm going to do, this didn't post. Hold on a second. After every live stream, guys, I always do a Instagram after party. So I was just loading up here. So you guys can join me over on Instagram at thejoshspeaks on Instagram. And I jump on there. I invite people on. We do video chats and stuff. It's just a little bit more laid back way to hang out and talk. So I definitely would like to see you guys there. Thank you so much for being a part of this live stream as well. I really appreciate it. If you haven't already, hit the thumbs up button like I mentioned. And I do want to know from you guys, what do you guys thinking about when it comes to school? Are you excited for your next year of school, jumping into the next grade? Are you excited about graduating, about moving forward and taking those leaps? I really want to know what you guys think, and I would love to know what you guys think. If you have any questions that I didn't answer, definitely make sure to leave them as comments on this video once it gets posted, because I will 100% answer it. I know I missed a lot of questions and people are getting a little upset in the chat. If I missed anything, definitely leave it as a comment on this video once this video goes live, because I 100% will answer it. Do you only give advice on Snapchat or Instagram only? I give advice on both Snapchat and Instagram. If you guys are on either, I'm at thejoshspeaks on both. Try my best to get through all of my DMs, so I will answer any of your questions. It's just going to take me a little bit of time. Alexis says, any information or tips about life after college? That's a really good question, Alexis. Tomorrow's video is 5 things that every college graduate should know, and I talk about life after college. But I do want to share one piece of advice with you there. One of the most important things I think you should remember once you kind of finish up college is that don't jump into a career, don't jump into a job that you don't care about, because that's kind of the mistake that I made. And that's a video series that I want to do too, talking about my very first job. And I jumped into the first job that I could find because I had applied to multiple different jobs, and no one was reaching out to me, no one was responding, and then I got an offer, and I was super excited to take it. Just to kind of give you a hint, my very first job, I didn't get a pay raise for 4 years. They didn't do it. They didn't change after 4 years, because they saw that I was young and that they could take advantage of that and everything like that. But I was just excited to be working, but I didn't understand my value at the time. So definitely understand your value once you graduate college. Work towards finding something that you want to pursue, and don't just take a job just because you feel like you should or you need to. Really try to find something that you're going to find meaning in. It's going to provide value. So Corey Mangan, whatever her name is, you have a question? Yep, ask your question, man. Johanna says, I'm excited for 8th grade because I can really be more laid back and not worry about anything so my grades are decent. Yep, that's awesome, Johanna. 8th grade could be just your time to relax and unwind a little bit, Yeah, so there's more questions coming in, guys. I'm going to jump on the Instagram live stream just for a little bit because I do have a bunch of things to take care of. But join me over on Instagram. Go follow me so you can get the notification once I go live. Thank you, Kyle. He says, this stream has been awesome. Thanks so much for taking your time to talk to your viewers. The best. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. And like I said, if you guys have any more questions about school, about moving into new stages of your life, anything you're experiencing, that's what the Josh Speaks is all about. This channel is all about starting conversations and just kind of talking to you guys about the real things that you're thinking about, that you just want to kind of have someone to talk about. So I'm happy I could be here for you guys. Follow me over on Instagram to join the live stream, and I will catch you guys next time. All right. Thank you so much for being a part of this. As always, love and peace. I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.